Episode 1, Addicted to Stranger Things. Johnny Depp in the house.
I don't know if we want that right now. Ugh. Bad timing with all of his...
I missed the news.
Oh, the abuse thing with his wife?
I should retract everything I just said.
Yeah.
Edit that out. All right, well, just if you're still here after I said that, thanks for tuning in. This is Any Given Sunday. I did it again.
Oh, my God.
That's going to take a month to get over. Any Given Saturday. The show where everything's made up and the points don't matter. I got hooked on that Sunday. Distract me from the rest of the line.
Any Given Saturday.
The movie wasn't even that great.
No.
You remember the movie?
It's been a long time.
Al Pacino? It was okay, but it wasn't even that fantastic, but I'm still stuck on it. Anyway, I'm Dan Powers, your co-host, and with the one and only Bailey Hemphill. Hemphill. So the PH is just silent?
I assume so.
Yeah. It's going to be hard.
I'm going to laugh, though, when I seriously meet someone who's like, actually, it's pronounced Hemphill. And then I'll be like, well, I've been saying it wrong all these years.
Well, does it really matter?
No, it doesn't. It's just a name.
You can spell anything now, and they'll call it something totally different. Like the spelling and the name and how it's pronounced don't even match up sometimes now.
No. Oh, I've seen so many kids' names where they're
kids.
like, her name's Carol. And I'm like, it's like a T and a Z
like,
and a...
But the Z
what? How?
is silent.
Yeah.
And the O sounds like an I. I see it all the time. People don't... I don't know. It's crazy. We have a Caden, and it's crazy just how many ways I see that thing spelled now. Or everybody... Well, in Siri, I always play with Siri. Ooh, that's what we should do. One of these episodes, we should play with Siri.
Oh, no.
Ask Siri questions.
She makes fun of me sometimes.
Does she?
Yes.
I wonder how she would say your last name.
Oh, I don't know. I'll have to try that.
We'll have to test that out.
I can tell her how to say it. I had to do that with my sister's name because she kept mispronouncing it, which was hilarious. But I did change my husband's name in my phone because whenever I am just messing around with him at the house, his name is Ben, by the way. And I'll just be like, Bean. So I changed his name in my phone to Bean.
Bean?
So she goes, calling Bean. And it takes forever. And I'm like, oh my God, why did I do this?
I bet he appreciates that.
He does not. He does not find it funny.
Do you call him Bean in front of his friends?
Yes, all the time. They've done it now too. So now they see him and they're like, hey, Bean.
That's rough. You can get away with that though.
Yeah, I can. Because, yeah.
You can get away with that. Right? What's he going to do?
Call me something right back.
He could do that, but you have something that he will always, you will always win the battle.
That's because I'm smarter. But, yes.
Okay.
Sorry, Bean.
Well, will Bean listen to this?
Probably.
Hey, then we got one viewer?
Yeah.
One listener?
He's going to be forced into it. I'm going to tie him up in a chair and be like, you will listen to this.
Listen or else.
Like Clockwork Orange style. Pull his eyeballs back.
I think we'll get... Well, I know Pat will listen. Because he's...
Hi, Pat.
Yeah.
How you doing?
We'll get a Pat listen. And then we get a Bean listen.
A Bean listen. Maybe a JT pity listen.
Maybe we even get JT down here. Now, Pat says he'll show up and...
We should just tell him there's cookies here.
And yeah.
That works. I've found that works.
That might help. JT's pretty good about it, though. We've had JT here a few times and had fun recording some football stuff.
Ooh, football. We're watching football right now, actually, in the background.
We are.
How's it going, LSU in Wisconsin?
It's actually, I'm surprised it's as close as it is right now.
Goose eggs still. Second corner.
Now, we do a pick'em league with JT and Pat and Tommy and I think everybody picked LSU.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Right across the board.
I would be surprised if Wisconsin comes back out of nowhere with this one. So
I'm surprised it's 0-0. Because Wisconsin is... All right, this isn't a football show. No one wants to hear us talk about
Sorry,
football.
yes. We're going to talk about nerd stuff now.
Move on.
All the nerd things.
So today we decided to talk about a little TV show called Stranger Things.
Haven't heard of it. What is that?
You know what's weird is so many people didn't hear about it first, early on. It came out of nowhere. There was no hype, no publicity.
Mm-hmm.
And then
Internet
took off.
happens. This was an amazing show. And I can't believe it was only 8 episodes. Like, it went so fast. You watch the first episode and you're like, well, I'll give it a try, see how it pans out. And then after that first one, you're just like, shit, my whole weekend is gone.
We did it during the work week. And I usually don't stay up super, super late because I'm an early riser. I get up 4:30, 5 o'clock every morning.
Oh, how?
Yeah, I get up real early. But I also don't go to bed really late. So I'm usually in bed between
5 p.m.
No. Right after I have my warm milk.
Oh, God. That sounds so gross.
Sounds disgusting. No, we're usually in bed 10:30-ish, between 10 and 10:30, somewhere in there. Sometimes a little later. When this came on, we started watching it. It was 2 a.m. both nights. Like,
my gosh.
I almost skipped work. The only, it was just one of those things. Hopefully no one at work's listening. But it was one of those things that, like, holy crap. I mean, it just grabbed a hold of you, and it was so unexpected. And it brings back so many memories, and you're engaged with the kids. Mm-hmm. And Winona Ryder.
Oh, my gosh. It's been so long since she's been on the screen.
She was fantastic.
She was great. I would love her to, like, do more stuff again. But, yeah, just the whole, like, nostalgia and, like, 80s style of the film with all the Goonies references, the Stand By Me references, pretty much any Spielberg movie ever references.
They really did. They had a little bit of everything in there. A little bit of E.T.
Oh, God, yeah, E.T.
Indiana Jones, like... Goonies, I loved Goonies. They did a fantastic job with it. I don't even know what to go with it. We were this conversation other than saying it was fantastic. Probably.
The little girl, did you see the actress who played 11?
Yep.
They were showing her video of her getting her hair buzzed. Oh my gosh.
Now, I did not see it, but was her mom in it?
I
seen some comment. Okay, so I read some comments from her mom. And I didn't know if she was in that video or not, but her mom was just heartbroken about it. Mm-hmm. But the little girl was totally on board with doing it.
She was on board because at first, like, I guess she was really upset about it. But then somebody showed her a picture of Charlize Theron in Mad Max Fury Road and said, look, Furiosa did it. And she was like, all right, I'm on. Like, let's do it.
You know what? Did you see that movie? Totally off topic.
Loved that movie.
Did you really?
Yes.
I seen a list just recently has talked about, like, the top, I can't remember, in the last 20 years, the top 100 movies. Mm-hmm. And that was pretty high on the list.
It's fantastic.
I couldn't finish it.
Really?
I watched half of it, and I watched all the original Mad Max. I actually watched all the first ones, prepping for this one. And I watched it, and I couldn't get more than halfway through it.
That's probably because it's a very different feel from the original.
Yeah, very different. And I just thought, are they just going to drive the entire time? Like, that's all they're doing. They're just driving.
Driving and having emotional conversations.
All right. Well, we both agree Stranger Things was fantastic. I don't know about Mad Max, but Stranger Things was fantastic.
I'm really curious where they're going to go with the second season, because they said that they're not going to do anthology style. They're going to keep these characters. And I mean, they left it on a pretty big cliffhanger. If you haven't seen it, I won't spoil it for you.
Everybody has seen it. Anybody that's listening to this show has probably seen it.
Okay, that's true. You know what happens. So we know 11 is still alive. So how? And also, where did she go? And what's the police guy doing now? Because he's in the know. Like, I want to know what happens.
Well, they just dropped the trailer, and now they released the titles to every show, and I've seen all types of people try to make into that. Mm-hmm. One of them was called Mad Max, just by coincidence there.
There's going to be lots of driving.
Well, they also came out and I don't know if you've seen, I think it was yesterday, they said there's 4 new characters.
Ooh.
And they announced one of them is unknown. One of them is named Max, and then he is a young kid. Sounds like he's about the same age as the other ones. And then one of them is the older brother that has a chip on his shoulder and everybody's out to get him. And then I can't remember what there was a brief reference about the third one. It wasn't very detailed. But we know there's going to be at least 4 new characters. One of them's name's Max, and he sounds like he's going to be a bigger role.
And what I'm really curious about is the final episode of that show for that season. I think was called The Lost Brother. or something like that. And so now you're like, oh God, which brother? Because, I mean, Mike is a brother.
That's true.
Jonathan's a brother. Obviously, we know Will's not going to get lost again because that would just make them all terrible people.
But at the end of that, whatever that little pickle thing that Will spit up wasn't really a pickle, but that...
I just thinking about that makes me sick.
But I'm curious is, Will seemed like he was having some flashes, and how is he connected now to the whole upside down? What was that he spit into the sewer?
How do we get into the upside down? Are there more alien things in the upside down? And why does everyone care so much about Barb?
That part. So I was at work yesterday, and we're debating Barb. Why are we talking about Barb? She wasn't that...
I get it from the point of, she's more relatable for a lot of people who were awkward and
but she was such a small role, really.
She had 12 lines in the entire show.
When you watch Star Trek, the original Star Trek,
she was a red shirt.
Exactly.
Oh my God,
That's totally exactly was a red shirt. She was a red shirt. You're dead. Sorry.
Nobody cared about her. I love how everyone's like, Will, let's go find Will. And Nancy for half a second was like, what about Barb? And everyone's like, meh, she's fine.
All right, you're right.
Because the police weren't even looking for her. They didn't care.
Nope. She was completely off radar once it all went down.
That part was kind of sad. So I could understand why people would attach to that and be like, justice for Barb. But BuzzFeed actually had a pretty great post for it the other day where they rounded up all of the lines she said in the entire movie, and it was one of the shortest posts I've ever seen.
Oh boy.
And it was just really, really the cherry on top saying, she didn't matter. Stop it.
Yeah, let it go. Although she was, last time we seen her, wasn't she kind of being abducted by, or I shouldn't say abducted, but wasn't she being fed on by something?
Oh God, that creepy thing.
Whatever it was.
And it was it's still like Alien.
But we don't know what that was. Because now they've come back. So the original version of this show apparently was going to have multiple creatures. And so since then, they tailored that, they cut that back and said, hey, we got one, we got a good story. But it sounds like Upside Down is now home or a world full of other mysterious...
Other Demogorgons.
Well, the Demogorgon... So there's a scene where they're walking through the Upside Down where Hopper and Winona Ryder's character...
Oh, God, what was her name? I want to say Sally,
Joyce.
But it's not right. It's Joyce, yes.
They're walking through the Upside Down, and there's eggshells.
Oh, no.
Remember the eggshells?
Yes.
Well, apparently, I originally thought that was the Demogorgons hatching, like baby virgins. But it's not. They're food. And that's what the Demogorgon was eating on until the whole Upside Down portal thing came into play. So we now know, at least according to
there's something else in there.
The writers, the brothers, that there's at least one other thing floating around in there.
Oh God, the face hugger thing though,
yeah, that's stuff.
That was bringing back some flashbacks from Alien and Aliens, and you're just like, oh God, don't put that in my mouth.
I love they did the level of creepiness they had in this. It wasn't over the top.
You could still go to bed at night.
Yeah,
but yeah, it did just kind of crawl up your shoulder and oh.
And I love the fact that they did it in the 80s.
Yes.
And they did it very well. The first review I heard about it, somebody complained and said they overplayed the 80s.
What?
Too many posters, too many 80s references and toys laying around. I'm like, well, they're in the 80s, but I thought they did a great job.
Who would say that? Besides somebody who was maybe 12.
I can't even remember who it was.
And they're like, I don't remember the 80s, so it's not important.
I don't remember. But they even had the kid with the banana seat bike and everything. I remember that.
Yeah, and it was very subtle, though. That's unless you have seen those things, you wouldn't pick up on them. So it wasn't like it was all in your face.
Well, even the first time I heard the comment and I noticed a little bit. But then the second time, so I actually seen the series twice. The second time going through it, I was actually looking for the 80s references. So there was quite a few, but it was subtle. Very subtle. But where they go with this is, I have no idea.
No, it's going to be so great. I hope it doesn't turn out like True Detective.
Yeah.
Because it could do that where it's just the first was so good.
It really could. Where they take this, they could have had a one-hit wonder, and it was fantastic. And season 2, depending what they try to do, if they try to over-deliver, you see sometimes with these shows, you see Indiana Jones and the Crystal Skull, right?
Oh,
where we're going to over-deliver. We're going to do everything. It's going to be epic.
I pretend that one doesn't even exist.
I think, yeah.
You just brought it back up. Now I have to think about it again.
Well, I was trying to think of something that was
I think that about American Horror Story.
Never seen it.
Oh, okay.
Although I say the commercials, they're running commercials right now.
They're creepy.
They look fantastic.
Yeah. So the first season was phenomenal because it came out of nowhere and you didn't know what to expect. And I honestly had a hard time sleeping because it was disturbing. So then the second season comes and you're like, okay, yeah, this is still pretty great. And they did it anthology style. So different characters, different settings every time. But by like season 3, you're like, and this is not doing it anymore. It has jumped the shark.
So it's not.
I keep watching it. I don't know if I like punishing myself, but
I never seen any episodes, but I love the commercials.
Yeah, the commercials are great.
It makes me interested.
I was very into last season, which was season 5. It was Hotel, and I think what got me was that they were like, Lady Gaga's going to be on here, and I was like, well, she's all kinds of crazy, so this will be awesome. And the show was good, but I mean, there was not a story. There was not a story whatsoever. So it was kind of a letdown. And yet I'm still interested in seeing season 6. It. Yep.
I have no problem watching. So I actually watched, now we're totally off topic, Mr. Robot. You watch Mr. Robot?
No.
So I watched Mr. Robot. I thought in the first 4 or 5 episodes, I'm like, wow, this is really fascinating. And then as it went on, it kind of just continued the same pace. And it really didn't seem like it was going anywhere. So to this day, I've watched every episode but the season finale. I've never seen the season finale, and I haven't. And now they're in season 2. I haven't seen any of them.
Doesn't that haunt you, like not to know the end of the story?
Not at all.
That does for me. I'm like, I have to know what happens.
My wife is the same thing. If she watches a show, invests a certain amount of time, she feels obligated to finish it, no matter what. I have no problem in the middle of a movie or in the middle of a show cutting ties and being done.
If there's something in there that really like pisses me off, then yeah, I'm all about that. Where I'm like, nope, I'm done with you. But
there's only I don't like when they do horror shows or flicks and they play with little kids. Like anytime I turn on a horror movie and it starts with a little kid doing something really creepy, I'm out.
Because you're scared of it, or
no? there's something about that. It doesn't scare me, but there's something about little kids in horror movies that freaks me out. It's not really scary, but I feel very uncomfortable. Like I don't want to see little kids in that situation. There's a show. Totally don't remember what it's called. There's a show, it just came out pretty recently. I think it was on Showtime. And the very first episode, and it's kind of a scarier horror flick, and the little kid he walks in his closet and starts slamming his head into the wall until he's bleeding, and it's just like vicious slamming of the head. And I'm like, all right, I'm out. Can't watch this.
So wait, how do you feel about The Shining then?
Believe it or not, I've never seen The Shining.
Ow.
I've never seen it.
I actually stayed in the hotel, Stanley Hotel out in Colorado. And they have a channel at that hotel that just plays The Shining all day, all night. And it's awesome, except for when you're sleeping and you're like, oh, no, I'm kind of creeped out.
It really does make sense. I mean, I've never seen the movie.
Oh, God, it's
But then
great.
I've seen Poltergeist, and that never bothered me.
I love Poltergeist.
Not the remake.
No, not the remake. Why even remake that one? It was so classic.
Well, we'll talk about that in a minute. Like, it was terrible. But the original, you got the little girl in it and everything. I thought that one was great. Judd D. Nelson, is that his name? Judd D. Nelson?
Craig T. Nelson.
Craig T. Judd.
Judd Nelson's
Judd
from
Nelson,
Breakfast Club.
yeah, totally. I was like, I just mix them up.
I mean, 80s Nelsons.
All right, well, I can't wait for Stranger Things season 2, but I think we're going to be waiting for quite a while.
Oh, yeah.
Quite a while. I think you hold my breath for that in Game of Thrones for another year.
God. They did start Game of Thrones production, though. They just did. They tried to keep it secret so people wouldn't flood the sets, but why do they make us wait so long? I just want it now.
That is the worst thing about doing things like Stranger Things. It's so fantastic, and they give it to you all at once, and now it's just the waiting game.
I would rather have it all at once, though, than have the week episodes, because then it's like, what do I do with myself until then?
Yeah, and you forget, and you're like, what happened? And
previously on.
I love the binge watching. I really do. I love what they're doing. I love all the Daredevil shows they're doing.
Yes.
Just feed them to me. The downside is this whole concept is really just seems like it's ramping up. So there's not a lot of great content that's given to you this way. Imagine they give you Game of Thrones like that.
If they would give me all of Game of Thrones at once,
holy moly.
Just give me all 7 seasons right now. Although I think it's going to be technically 8, but
Well,
that's another time.
Believe it or not, I never watched Game of Thrones until right before season 6.
Wow.
So I watched the first episode, and as it was playing, I thought, I don't get it. This is kind of boring. And I watched half an episode, turned it off, didn't watch it again for 2 years. And then I turned it back on. Everybody's talking about so much that I'm like, I will commit.
Power through it.
I will commit to the first 4 to 5 episodes, and I will just commit and get through it. And we'll see. And yeah,
most shows take a couple episodes to kind of get the steam rolling. Like,
it was very confusing. I'm like, I don't understand the premise. I don't know where they're going. There's all these little side stories. I'm like, what in the world are they doing? And then when they cut that dude's head off at the end, holy shit. I'm like, whoa, I'm addicted for life.
It just got real.
What in the world?
And then you read the books and you're like, oh my God, I can't quit you.
Yeah. I haven't read the books, but I bought the first book.
Yes.
So I am now going down that path. Anyway, this wasn't about Game of Thrones. What are we talking about? Oh
no. Oh boy. We're going to talk about sequels and remakes.
So we've touched on it several times in 2 shows.
Well, there's so many of them now.
Shows.
It's like, I'd say 60 to 75% of the movies that we're seeing right now are sequels and remakes. That's actually a lowball number. I'm going to go ahead and say 85.
It's massive. It was interesting because you brought this up, and I just watched, I don't know if you remember the movie The Thing.
Yes.
So I just watched The Thing literally a week ago. Trying to go through and thinking of, I've been looking at old movies and going back and like, what have I not seen forever? And I can't remember. So I looked up and we watched The Thing. And when I looked it up, I didn't realize they did a remake of it.
When? Oh, 2011 they did.
Yeah.
I don't even remember that coming out. Was that like a straight to DVD?
I don't know. I had a conversation at work about it and people just thought it was horrible. They've seen it, but I never seen it.
Oh, yeah. Mary Elizabeth Winstead, Joel Edgerton. I mean, I'm surprised I didn't hear about this. What? There's a pretty good cast here. I might go check it out, but still.
I have not seen it, but I watched the original. Still entertaining. Still holds. I mean, some of the special effects are ridiculous. It's like a puppet.
Of course. Although sometimes the puppets work out really well. Like, I mean, Star Wars The Force Awakens, bringing back the puppets instead of doing entirely CGI was great.
Yeah. The CGI thing, it looked like a bad video game.
It did.
It did not work.
It didn't feel like a setting. It was just like, and it's a backdrop. There you go. But yeah, there were so many sequels and remakes this summer, and there's more coming. And some of them I'm excited about. Like, we were talking about Mary Poppins, and you were like, oh. And at first when I heard they were redoing that, I was like, don't touch Mary Poppins. That's like my favorite movie. And they said Emily Blunt and Lin-Manuel Miranda are attached to it. And I was like, listening? Because he just did Hamilton, which was a huge success. And obviously Emily Blunt is amazing. And it's supposed to be kind of a different story in a different time period. And they have Julie Andrews' blessing. So I'm excited.
I love Julie. Julie Andrews was the greatest.
Oh, she's so amazing.
Do you remember Parent Trap?
Yes.
Do you remember the original Parent Trap?
Yes.
She was fantastic.
Wait, she wasn't in that, was she?
Wasn't she? No. She wasn't. It was
Sound of Music. She was in that one.
Who? There was another big name that was in Parent Trap, and now I got a text that's blocking my tab, so I can't look.
The original Parent. Yeah, I actually watched that movie all the time, and got in trouble many times because.
What, from Parent Trap?
Yep.
Let's get together. Yeah.
I cut my sister's hair one time because I watched Parent Trap, and I was like, we should cut our hair. We can do the twin thing, even though we're 4 years apart.
Yeah.
Did not
I
work.
never went to that level. By any means, I didn't do that. But I thought Mary Poppins was fantastic. But they remade Parent Trap like 6 times.
With Lindsay Lohan.
Oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm. And Dennis Quaid was in that one. I forgot about that.
Yeah, Dennis Quaid. Oh, who was the one? Who's the police cop guy? Steve Guttenberg was in one of them.
Oh, that was the Mary-Kate and Ashley movie.
Was that Parent Trap?
No, it wasn't Parent Trap, but it's kind of a similar concept.
Knockoff.
That was called It Takes Two, and it was kind of wonderful. I'm speaking from my millennial side, so. Mary-Kate and Ashley movies all day.
I don't know if I've ever seen the whole thing. So, oh my God. I won't even tell you why I seen that movie.
You have kids.
Yeah, I watched it with my daughter. Like she was watching. That's how I seen it. I was watching it. Yeah, I have kids. I have kids that aren't far from your age, apparently.
Oh boy, I'm sorry.
So, do you like remakes? Do you think overall they do a good job with remakes, or do you think like?
I think there are some that work out, but I mean, I've seen so many bad ones. Like I saw the RoboCop remake, which was terrible. Yeah. I saw the Total Recall remake, terrible. Fantastic Four remake, terrible.
They're all not that good.
And it's just like, God, it's not working. And even like if they try to frame it as a reboot, sometimes it doesn't work.
Well, we've seen that a number of times, it seems like.
Yeah, I mean, we talked about Ghostbusters in the last episode. And
that really was a reboot more than a remake.
Yes, because it was a different story, different characters, same kind of concept, but at least was a different take on it.
I don't understand the woman thing, though. Why does it have to be all women?
Something different.
It was different.
And they all are funny ladies, too. So
they were.
Like,
I just thought that was kind of weird that it almost seemed, forced, almost like, why do we have all women? What?
There's an Ocean's 8 coming out with
all women?
All women. Sandra Bullock and Cate Blanchett.
All right. I'll watch it with them, too.
Yeah. They're basically going to be the Clooney and Pitt, and I'm very excited about that. Yeah,
But, sometimes they do a good job with reboots or remakes. Like, people don't really know that the Al Pacino Scarface was a remake.
Really?
That was a remake.
I didn't even know that.
There's some really good classic movies that people have forgotten, and they're quite honestly, the production value is probably so poor that it's worth remaking.
Well, like I said, Ocean's 11 is a remake.
Yeah, I knew that one too. Yeah, Ocean's 11's a remake.
The Producers is another one that I really love, which it's funny, Gene Wilder was in the original Producers, and then they had Nathan Lane and Matthew Broderick in the other one, and I love both versions. I actually own both versions because I'm like, which one do I want to watch today?
There's other ones like, they haven't really done a fantastic job, but I appreciate them remaking King Kong and Godzilla.
I did too. I really liked Godzilla and King Kong.
I like the fact they're remaking those because those have like they can do that every 15 years or so. Mm-hmm. You can remake that movie or reboot it or do whatever you want, and I'm in.
So I have heard from the internet rumor mill that the Kong Skull Island movie that's coming out next year is going to be setting it up essentially so that way we can have Godzilla versus King Kong.
Happens. That's what I heard too, and I really hope that goes down.
Oh, God, it'll be great.
Now, the one thing they're going to have to do is make King Kong a lot bigger or figure out how to make Godzilla a little smaller.
Well, this one looks like Kong is huge.
Because they made Godzilla just enormous in that last movie.
And the last one, people didn't like it as much, but I really did. I thought it was very, like, that Halo jump that they do with him in the background.
I thought it was a great movie. I liked it.
Beautiful.
I liked that movie, but I love the original Godzilla movies, and those were pretty bad.
You didn't like the Matthew Broderick one?
That was, it was okay, but it wasn't a Godzilla movie.
No.
They should not have called that a Godzilla movie. They should have just said that's a big damn dinosaur in the city movie.
Big damn dinosaur. Ooh, great idea for a movie title.
Yeah, it wasn't a Godzilla movie. Why'd we call it a Godzilla movie? And why is she laying eggs? Who said it's a she? Who said it's a he?
Don't kill all the babies.
That's a terrible movie. But I am excited to see I'm excited for King Kong coming up, and I'm excited to see Godzilla and King Kong.
Yeah. Another thing on the sequels remakes thing is have you noticed that like NBC, Fox, and ABC are now doing these live musicals where they're essentially remaking musicals? Yeah. Grease was one of the better ones, I thought.
I didn't see the Grease one, but I actually kind of protested that one. I love the original
this is a
Grease.
Classic.
Do not mess with Grease. Don't bring in Justin Bieber or whoever. I love that. But they are. But the same thing with Disney, right? Disney's now doing remakes, but the live action versions of, Pete's Dragon and
Cinderella.
Beauty and the Beast is next year is the big one.
I am very into that. I saw they had a little sneak peek just this week, and oh my gosh, just the table read it's a table read. It's not that exciting, and yet I was sitting there like, this will be so great.
Well, they did it smart because it's not even though it's a remake, it's a very different element.
And it's still keeping the fantasy of it, though, because, I mean, he's going to be full-on beast looking. And I always want to call him Matthew Crawley from Downton Abbey. Stan Stevens is going to be the beast, but he's a beautiful man. To cover him up in beast fur, oof, yikes.
I got no comment. But I think they were very smart how they're going to handle these. You know, let's change up the experience and tell the story again.
That's so Cinderella is one that we've seen remade millions of times. Animated, not animated, told in like a cheesy Hilary Duff story.
Yeah, that's the one that comes to mind.
Oh God, they were so bad. But this most recent one was actually really good because they kind of changed up the story to have them fall in love before the ball. So it wasn't just like hey, I met you 2 seconds ago, want to get married? It was like, oh, you're a nice young lady. You should come to the ball. I would like to learn more about you. And then, romance ensues.
What about sequels? Sequels good for movies? They seem to abuse it a lot.
They do. And my problem is, if you're going to make a sequel, you have to build upon the character development that you've already established. And most of them don't do that. They just have them run around so they can get to the next movie. And it's like, you need to give me more. I need character growth.
Well, that was, I think, kind of what I said about Bourne movie. I thought it was okay, but it just, or even this last Star Trek, they didn't develop the characters really. They didn't develop the storyline. It was just a one-off story that kind of just could have been done without.
That was have you seen any of the Divergent movies?
All three.
So I feel that way about that entire series.
I agree totally.
Like the first movie, I was like, I'm kind of interested in this.
Yeah.
And then the second one, I'm like, oh no, you're literally just moving from plot A to plot B so we can get to the finale.
Yep.
I don't like that. I want to think about the best sequels you've ever seen. Empire Strikes Back.
Well, that's the one everybody thinks of.
Everybody thinks about that one. It's because it changes the game.
Yeah.
And that's what you're supposed to do. You're supposed to change the game.
Yeah. Most people don't, at least I think most critics, don't like Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom out of the series. But I love that one.
It's pretty great.
I loved it. It totally changed the game. As you said, it was a different look. It was a different feel. I love that movie. Mm-hmm. In fact, I will go on record saying that's probably my favorite.
Really?
I enjoy Raiders of the Lost Ark and The Last Crusade. We'll forget the other one. But Temple of Doom, man, that was it for me.
Aliens is another one of my favorite sequels.
That's a great one.
Because, you've got Ripley, who just came off of this last one, wakes up and is like, oh no, not again. But it builds upon what she already experienced rather than just doing it all over again.
There's so many they make, they just...
It's not good storytelling. Yeah, exactly.
Well, the Independence Day, right? Independence Day was absolutely probably the worst sequel ever made.
Straight up money grab.
Holy cow, was that bad. But, so sometimes it works. I wish more than less they would not do it, right? Let's not make another Police Academy.
Yeah, please don't.
Let's not make Clerks 4 or whatever it is.
Unless you're going to do what the remade 22 Jump Street did.
Oh.
Where... it was 21 Jump Street originally, but the sequel for 22 Jump Street straight up made fun of the fact that it was a sequel. So the whole movie is them just making jokes about it.
I didn't see that one.
It's really funny.
Huh. Well,
it's just like, oh, here we are again.
At least they recognize it.
Yeah.
But there's I don't typically enjoy, or I'm very reserved anytime I see a sequel. And that, excluding the Star Wars movies and anything the Marvel's doing, right? Because they have figured out the magic formula. So that is a whole different game. But these other ones.
And sequels to movies that don't need sequels. The Alice in Wonderland movie, they had a sequel this summer. And I was like, why? We didn't need this. Nobody wanted it. No, there's a lot of those movies. Right? We mentioned Poltergeist earlier. They made a Poltergeist 2. And I don't know if anybody remembers that, but it was unnecessary. Was that the one where they were on the farm or something? They went into oh my gosh. I don't even recall. I barely recall. We talked about Ghostbusters 2. Most people don't remember that. I just remember the Statue of Liberty walking down, down a parade route, and they're screaming out the top of it, look at us. So. Oh no, Poltergeist 2 was the one with the really scary old man. Skeleton looking dude. Just looking at the picture on my computer right now is freaking me out.
Return to the Blue Lagoon. You remember the Blue Lagoon?
Yes.
Return to the Blue Lagoon.
Why?
Yeah.
We didn't need to return there.
Most of those. You know what movie I wish they would have made one of and never make another one that people may or may not disagree with? Jurassic Park.
I would agree with that. Jurassic Park on its own was just fantastic.
They should have never made another one, I think. No, the other ones weren't bad. But it just wasn't needed.
No, especially number 3. Like Lost World, I could make the case, and I love Jeff Goldblum, so I'll pay money to see him.
But that would have been that's a classic. It would have been a classic 10 years from 20 years from now. Mm-hmm. I think the sequel kind of distorted that classic feel to it. Now people are like, it was good, but it's no classic, right? Yeah.
You can't get the same magic.
No.
It's really hard to recreate it the first time.
You know what my favorite though? My favorite favorite sequel of all time?
What's that?
Transformers.
Really?
No, I'm joking. I'd say.
Okay, I was like, we just talked about the scary Autobot.
Terrible, terrible, terrible.
I was like, I'm going to leave right now.
I would be. I don't know. I mean, you said the ones, Aliens and Empire Strikes Back and Indiana Jones. I'm a big fan. There's more bad ones than there are good ones by far.
Yeah, definitely.
80-20 rule. 80% of them suck.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
They're not good.
I think that's the case for all movies. 80% of the movies we see suck.
Well, that's true.
And there's 20 really good ones.
Anymore, it seems like they're all knockoffs or sequels or remakes
mediocre.
or reboots. You know what I wish they would reboot that I am so excited for that I wish they would do? They're trying to do it. You probably don't even know this show.
Maybe.
Buck Rogers.
I have heard of it. I have not watched it.
Holy shit, I can't wait for that. So Buck Rogers is fantastic. I hope they get to make it. There's a big thing about whether or not it's in public domain and who owns the rights to it. They've been trying to make this movie. I hope they get to make it. I love Buck Rogers.
Wow, this poster for Buck Rogers looks like a bit of a Star Wars knockoff. Am I correct in saying that?
It is not a story. It is a very different story. Don't get me wrong, it's sci-fi, but it doesn't match up to Star Wars really. It's a very different story.
I just mean like the poster design of it looks like whomever created it got fired later for copyright.
I gotta look now. Is that the new one?
Possibly.
They have
Buck Rogers in the 25th century.
Yeah, that's probably it. If you look at the old ones, like they're pretty cheesy actually. But that show has been around since like the early 1930s.
Oh man.
And it's been remade several times, and it was big in the early 70s. I got to watch all the reruns. Erin Gray, that was her name.
Erin Gray.
Oh my God, loved Erin Gray back then.
Fictional space opera. We need more of those in our lives.
It sounds bad when you say it that way. It sounds really bad, but fantastic show. I hope they remake that show. A guy falls asleep and he winds up like 500 years in the future, floating in space, and they find him and he becomes a space hero.
Oh no.
That's the whole premise. Can't get
space opera.
I never knew it as a space opera, but you know what another sequel is that I thought was not needed and turned out I think it just got worse as they moved along, the Matrix movies. So Matrix, the first one was fantastic. The second one was not that great, and the third one was just like, what are we doing?
What is happening?
What are we doing? And I don't know if people remember this. They actually brought number 2 and number 3 out like 4 months apart.
Yeah, because they wanted to kind of get it all done.
Yeah, I wanted to get it done too after I got in there.
Yeah, seriously. Wait, we're being hooked up like potatoes? That's not
ridiculous. All right, well, that's my opinion. I don't know what else there is to say. It plays out sometimes.
Yeah, it can work when it's done well.
Disney has done a fantastic job recently with how they're handling it from a sequel and a reboot. They're doing very well.
Yeah, they have good people in their house, and that's why it's working.
Too many of these people are just money grabs. Anyway. All right, so we got another question from Mr. Pat is a boy.
Would you rather attend Hogwarts or Xavier's School for Gifted Youngsters?
I'm going to let you answer this one first because...
This is a tough one for me because I see benefits of both. Like Hogwarts, you get to use magic, but like as one of my friends brought up a long time ago, she said she would rather go to Xavier's School because that means you're the only one with your power.
Uniqueness.
Mm-hmm. So I don't know. I love the idea of like going and living in a giant castle with all of my friends, but there's also school there. Whereas like Xavier's school, he kind of like does a little bit of lessons, but most of the time you're just running around.
Yeah, that's a tough one. Originally, when I seen this, right away I said, "Oh, Xavier's," because I just kind of grew up closer to that. But then the more I thought about it, I actually started thinking the other way. I'm like, well, magic would be pretty cool.
Mm-hmm.
For some stupid reason, I'm attracted to the little wands, and they get owls. That do
and you do get owls, yeah.
Owls that do things for them. So I don't know.
And exploring the castle and finding all kinds of weird things.
I don't know.
This is a tough question.
It really is. If it came down to it, right away, my gut said Xavier's, but that is just because of my history and culture and where I grew up and how I grew up. But now I think more and more about it. I'm like, So if you go to Xavier's, that means you got some power that you can use at some point and may benefit you or not. If you have magic, though, you could do a variety of things.
That's true.
You're not just limited to the one item.
Especially if your one power really sucks. Like if you're just like, I have a weird lizard tongue.
Yeah,
that's not really that cool.
That's not very good.
Magic is way cooler. Okay.
No.
Yep, that's my answer, Hogwarts.
I mean, the more you think about it, it's like, I like the diversification of being able to do a lot of things. It seems to work out pretty well.
Yeah, I'm going to say Hogwarts.
I think I'm going to agree. I think the gut reaction says the opposite, but when you think about it, like, yeah, you could get even if you got a really cool power, it's still going to be limited at some point. Like, if I'm the guy, it's going to turn into fire.
And Hogwarts, you can actually hide from people who want to hunt down your magic.
And if you don't have the right magic, there seems to be like a potion or a blanket you throw over yourself and turn invisible. Like, it's a win-win all the way around.
It is.
Pat didn't answer the question, though, so I'm curious to what Pat
would probably be like, what are those schools, though? I really don't know that much about them.
Pat must have got this question from his kid. Anyway, if you enjoyed this episode, it is available on iTunes, or it will be the time you listen to this. So feel free to subscribe or leave us a review if it's positive.
Lots of smiley faces would be great.
Yeah, it definitely helps. So until next week.
I
am Dan Powers, and I'm on Twitter at FanNameDan.
And I'm Bailey Hemphill, and you can find me on Twitter at Bales of Hemp.
Still cracks me up. The Bales of Hemp.
I'm going to get so much crap about that for the rest of my life.
Well, everybody, when we sign Christmas cards or anything, it's always Powers Pack.
Powers Pack.
So
that's
everybody
good.
calls us the Powers Pack.
I need something cool like that.
Well, when I grew up, my mom had a flag at work. She was a manager, and her team was called Powers Pack, and she had this flag that says Powers Pack. So then when she finally left that company, like, I had that flag in my room forever. Like, we are the Powers Pack.
You guys could be like superhero family, like The Incredibles.
They are. Speaking of sequels.
Oh, do we need that one?
They're bringing, there's an Incredibles 2 coming.
Oh, I don't know how I feel about that.
Because it's Disney, I'm going to say I'm okay with it.
Yeah, probably.
Although Disney has done a lot of sequels straight to DVD.
Like planes and cars and...
Aladdin 2.
Oh, God. That makes me think of the Family Guy joke. It's like Jafar 4. Or no, sorry. Aladdin 4, Jafar may need glasses.
That was a different Disney, though. There was something about that time where they just weren't pulling off very good sequels.
Yeah, they have a Lion King 1.5, and I'm like, how do you do that? All it is the perspective of Timon and Pumbaa. It's very weird. Why did I watch that?
They sold a lot of DVDs, though.
They did. The mouse makes money.
Crazy money. Crazy money. I'm about to be done here. I'm going to go watch football, which is all on ESPN and ABC and all their money. Yeah.
And they own it.
They own
everything.
Oh,
they own us. We don't even know.
Them and Comcast. Comcast owns everything.
And Oprah.
Well.
Maybe Oprah owns Disney, or Disney owns Oprah.
I don't know. Good question.